Hey guys, so in today's video I wanted to share with you my updated brow routine. It's been about a year since I did my last one and my brows are much different now and I use different products and everything. Definitely less steps than my last tutorial. My brows were not living life to their full potential last video that I made of this, and they're doing much better now. They are living the dream. So in this video I want to talk about the tools I use to fill in my brows, two different ways, as well as the tools I use to maintain my brows. So let's get into it. So first off, maintaining my brows. I kind of tweak them here and there, but for the most part I kind of just let them do their thing. I've spent way too many years over waxing and plucking and all that stuff, so they're very sparse, and I've just let them live their life for the past year and let them really grow in and get fuller, and then I kind of tweak wherever needs to be tweaked. So the two main things that I use, one is a razor. I've learned that if you over pluck, then you're gonna have bald spots. Girls who way over plucked their eyebrows in high school, when they get into their 20s, realize that their brows are very patchy and sparse because they way over plucked them in high school. If you pluck something straight from like the follicle too many times, then hair's just never gonna grow back there anymore. So I do have some patchy spots because of that. So I tend to not pluck unless absolutely necessary, unless there's like a rogue hair like right here, or like, you know what I mean? Like obviously spaces where you don't want hair. That's where I tweeze. But for the most part I just use a razor. This is a, Venus disposable razor, and I use this to really clean up the upper brow. I've talked about this in a video before, my how I did my makeup in high school video. I have really full like Bushman eyebrows, like Anne Hathaway in Princess Diaries. That was my life in high school and middle school, just my life in general, up until like 3 years ago. They are very full, like on the arch. They grow in really high up on my forehead. So I use this to just kind of like tame that area, and it really helps. I only have to do it like every maybe once a week or so, and with that it doesn't kill the hair follicles. So if I like go a little too thin and if I want them thicker and that sort of thing. So I prefer this, and besides this is way less painful than tweezing. I hate tweezing. Tweezing my eyebrows is like the bane of my existence because I'm a wuss when it comes to ripping hair out of my face. So. Okay, so when I do tweeze, there are two tweezers that I prefer. This one I featured in my last brow tutorial and I still love them. They are the Emite makeup, they are the Emite makeup tweezers. Now these are pricey. I received these in a Ipsy bag a million years ago, and when I looked them up for my last brow video, I found out that these are like $25. Like, holy crap. So I mean, if you got the money to spend 25 bucks on tweezers, then all for it. But these I have found are amazing, and these are by e.l.f. These are really, really sturdy, like thick metal tweezers that aren't as like pointy sharp as these, but they're still like they get like a precise little, like you can really get in there and tweeze what you need to tweeze. Like these tweezers are awesome, and they're only $1 from e.l.f. So good option. Alright, now for the tools that I use to fill in my brows are these two guys right here, and you'll see them in the demo in a little bit, but I just wanted to mention them beforehand. This little brush is the 107 brush by ABH Cosmetics. It's just an angled brush, but it is not as firm as this one because the bristles, well, I guess the bristles are the same length. They're a little longer, so that it's a little bit more flimsy, so it's not gonna make as harsh of lines. It's more for like a natural brow, and this is what I love to use for brow powder. And then this is the brush that I use when I'm applying pomade. So a little bit thicker in texture. The bristles are thinner and shorter, so it makes a more like harsh line. And there you go. I think this is the Anastasia number 12 brush, I think. Bless you. And it has an awesome spoolie at the end, so it's good for blending out the product. But it's completely worn off, so I'm pretty sure this is the number 12 brush, I think. So my two favorite products for filling in brows. If you've seen any of my tutorials the last however many months, then you know about this one. This is the Anastasia Soft Brown Brow Powder Duo. That is a mouthful. So this is the powder that I like use pretty much on a daily basis. Unless I'm feeling a little extra, then I use the pomade, but this is just the perfect powder to fill in my brows. It's a nice neutral tone. It's not too warm, it's not too cool. It's perfect for my brows. And even though I have naturally really dark eyebrows, I think that this is a really good product to fill them in and make them look more natural. I went through a phase where I was all about like the really like intense dark like Instagram eyebrows, and not so much anymore. I'm living the more natural life now. So it comes with a lighter powder for like the front of the brow and the top of the brow, and then comes with a darker powder for the tail and underside thing. Now when I'm feeling a little extra and I want to have a more like intense chiseled Instagram eyebrow, then I use this NYX Tame and Frame Tinted Brow Pomade in the shade Brunette. This is a like thicker, like I don't want to say tougher, but not as moussey of a formula as the Anastasia Dip Brow. That one's really creamy, and this one's a little harder to work with, which I prefer because it helps you apply it and not go overboard. With the Anastasia Dip Brow, it's a really awesome product, but you can go a little heavy-handed because the formula is so moussey. You have no eyebrows. You want to tell them about your eyebrows? Your non-eyebrows? This girl's got no eyebrows. So, don't listen to any advice she gives you about her eyebrows. What? And then, of course, no matter what brow I'm rocking, whether it's a more natural brow or a more intense brow, I always top it off with Clear Brow Gel. At the moment, this is my favorite. It's the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. It's really effective. Okay, so if you want to see how I fill in my brows, I do one side with powder and then one side with the pomade, then just keep watching. Okay, now that I have you in good and close, I'm gonna do one brow with just like powder and gel, and then one brow with the pomade and gel. So they're gonna look a little off because one's gonna be a little bit more fierce than the other. So of course, when starting off my brows, I'm going to just run any old spoolie through them just to make sure that the brows aren't like, you know, all over the place. And I apologize for my like blue stained nails. I was wearing blue nail polish and then I took it off last night and I just haven't had the time. Okay, so my favorite brow powder is this Anastasia Brow Duo in Soft Brown, and this angled brush is from ABH Cosmetics. Any old angled brush will do. I like this one because it's like sort of stiff but sort of fluffy, so it's like, it's not like, how do I explain it? It makes a precise line, but it also like doesn't make it so harsh, if that makes any sense. So I'm gonna start off with the lighter shade first. And then what I like to do is I don't start like right at the very front of the eyebrow. I start kind of like, I don't know, like a little bit less than midway. And I just start like the touch is very, very light. I just lightly start to brush that in, going in the direction of my hair. Also kind of like flicking it up and back. Then when there's less product on the brush, then I start to kind of feather it into the front part. So again, going in the direction of the hair as well as kind of pushing it up. And then you can even tilt your brush so it's like up and down, and then kind of make that little like square it off, but since there's like not that much product, it's not going to be like a harsh like rectangle shape, you know what I mean? Picking up a little bit more product, I'm going to lightly line like the top part. And then I'm going to go in with the darker shade and then line this bottom part right here. So the tail is where I have some like empty patches. So I'm going to lightly fill those parts in. So with the powder, you can definitely build up the intensity and make it just as dark and pigmented like as a pomade. But you can also make it more natural and not as harsh. Then going back in with the spoolie and just brushing through. This way you can also see if there are any spots that you missed. Just like that. Then, of course, gonna set it with the ABH Clear Brow Gel. I need a new one. Mine's almost empty. So with the tip of the little wand, I'm gonna like deposit the product most in the front and then brush it back. Just like that. Super simple. So you can see like natural brows with nothing in them, just a little something something. Okay, so for the other brow, my favorite pomade at the moment is this one from NYX. It is the NYX Tame and Frame Tinted Brow Pomade in Brunette. I thought it was taupe. Oh well. So this is the Anastasia, I couldn't even tell you. I think it's like the number 12 brush or something. I don't know, it's completely worn off. But this is the brush from Anastasia that comes like, you know, in pairing with their pomade and whatnot. So when I use pomades and I use this brush, I always wipe off the brush first before I use it from whatever was built up on my brush from the last time I used it. Just so it's, you know, it makes for a cleaner application if there's not that like buildup of pomade on the little like applicator part. So same thing, I'm going to brush the hair over. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of the pomade. This is a little stiffer pomade than like the Anastasia Dip Brow. It's just like a pinch, like not as moussey, I suppose. And then I like to kind of like brush off the excess and really get it into the bristles, I suppose. And then same thing, so what I'm gonna do is start not all the way in the front because you don't want like that harsh line in the front. I'm gonna start like maybe a little bit less than halfway. And slowly start to like add in that color. Let me like completely block you so you can't see what I'm doing. Now if you really wanted to go for like a super intense brow, you would just really load up the product and then just like go for a full bold line. But I'm not really about that life anymore. If you ever get like a clump or like a really heavy deposit of the product, you just run that spoolie through it. So same thing as like the front of the brow with the pomade, you don't really want to go heavy-handed on the top line either. It just makes for a more like unnatural looking brow. It doesn't make it look as soft and natural. Okay, now that there's less product in my brush, then I'm gonna slowly start to add that to the front in really light strokes. And then same thing, tilt my brush so it's like up and down, vertical. And just sort of stamp it in there. Then of course setting it with the brow gel. So same thing, I like to take whatever is like on the tip of the wand and then deposit that in the front part, kind of flicking it up and then brushing through the rest. Just like that. Alright, and that completes this video. I really hope that you enjoyed and learned something helpful for your brows. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. And if you liked me, then please subscribe. I will list in the description box all of the things that I used and mentioned, of course, like I always do, along with all of my other social medias, so you can come find me and say hello. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.